Hello guys, I'm going to talk a little bit about trying to make a character and maybe some of the mechanics for Numenera. First, there are only three classes in Numenera. There's the Glaive, which is the fighter type, the Nano, who is the guy that uses magic, although magic and technology are kind of synonymous, so it maybe looks like magic, but it's probably more nanobots and technology, but whatever, it's magic. And then the Jack is the last character type. The Jack can be a little bit of everything, anything. I think ostensibly he's probably supposed to be used, or not supposed to be, but the first pick was probably be some kind of roguish, thievish kind of guy that you may or may not need, but obviously no one has to play that. But the Jack can be you can drop other things on him and use him kind of a template to make something that's not really a fighter and not really a wizard type, like a bard or something like that, if you will. So the way you do that in Numenera is you fill in three blanks, and the blanks are: I am a blank that blanks. I am a descriptor class that focuses. So the first one, well, let's go to the second one. The noun, that's going to be your class. That's where you're going to put Glaive, Nano, or Jack. The first one is an adjective that describes him. So some of the adjectives that you use in the descriptor are going to be things like strong, or clever, intelligent, tough, rugged, charming, things like that. I'll put them up on the screen. So you can be a charming Nano or a learned Jack, or you see how that goes. The last one is a verb. So let's say I'm a charming Glaive that blanks, and the last one is called your focus, and I'll put those on the screen too. Character focuses. Some of those look pretty self-explanatory, like murders. I am a clever Jack that murders. Rages is another one. Leads, I think, leads is one. So if you give someone the leads quality, he's probably going to be the person that helps the group out in situations where they need a leader, or things like that. Crafts illusions. Carries a quiver would obviously be someone that's a ranger type, or at least an archer type. So you can combine them in any way that you want. You can put any three things together the way you want. And I'll put some examples up on the screen now to show you what I'm talking about. For instance, let me find it. You can be a tough Glaive that rages. So that's going to be type kind of a barbarian. Tough means he's probably going to have more armor or more hit points or what have you. And rages means he can go into a rage and do extra damage. An intelligent Nano that crafts illusion, probably going to get more points added to your intellect stat, so you can more easily cast these illusions that you're going to cast. Another one would be anything. You can think of dozens of different things that you can put into that. A charming Jack that entertains. That would be probably a bard type. I'm going to save. I'm typing some of this up as I go. So. When you pick your descriptor, that's going to give you some bonuses to your stats. It's going to give you some skills, and it's going to give you possibly an inability or a drawback to your character. It's going to give you possibly a contact out in the world. It's going to give you some equipment probably, and it's definitely going to give you a link to the starting adventure, because when we start, no one really knows what's going on. The world's odd and strange, so your descriptor may say something like, you needed money, so you joined up with these people, or it could be a lot more esoteric than that, a lot of strange things. Your class is going to give you your base stats. Your Jack or Nano or Glaive is going to give you your very base stats. It's going to give you a history of how you got to be what you are, and it's a big list. You can randomize it, or you can choose one. Why you are a glaive. Maybe you were the strongest kid on the farm, or you got picked on and wanted to beat people up. There's a big list there. I don't even know if those two are on there. I just made them up. It's going to give you a base set of starting skills. It's going to give you some equipment. It's going to give you some money, which are called shins in this game. And it's going to give you get to choose from your starting abilities. Those are things like bash, hit, and thrust for the glaives, and it's starting spells for your nano if you're a nano, although they call them esoteries in this game. They're not called spells. The last one is your focus, and your focus is going to give you the origin of how you got that, how you became a leader, or how you became to carry a quiver. It's going to give you some background into that. It gives you some another ability or two that you can add to the ones you got from your class. It gives you some effects which you get from good rolls, because in this game, if you roll really well, cool things can happen. You know, like in D&D, if you roll a 20, it's a crit. In this game, a 20 is called a major power, so something really cool is going to happen if you roll a 20. And a 19, and I think 18 or 19 is a minor power, so something kind of cool will happen. There's also, if you roll a 1, something called a GM intrusion, where not only are you going to miss, not only are you going to fail with that 1, but something shitty is going to happen too, that the GM just kind of makes up, and I'll make them up to make them make sense and make them be cool. It's not like, oh, you had a heart attack, haha, you died. It's going to be something cool. Again, you can mix and match all of these descriptors, class, and foci to come up with a better, with a good character. Obviously, some work better with the others. If you pick an intelligent glaive that crafts illusions, then you're going to be a fighter who's smart and can cast some kind of illusions. Those two probably fit better with a nano. Conversely, if you pick a strong nano that wields weapons, those don't really work. You can do it. You can be a nano and have your spells that you get from being a nano, and also carry around a sword and be very strong, but you may not be playing up to your strengths at that much. Once you pick that, you're going to get your stats. And in D&D, there are 6 different stats. There's strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. But in this game, there's only 3. There's 3 to choose from. There's might, which covers strength and stamina and constitution, that kind of power. There is speed, which covers not only the speed at which you go, but also your dexterity and your agility and your hand-to-eye coordination, your balancing and that group of stuff. And then the last is intellect. And intellect covers your intelligence, of course, and your wisdom, but also covers other mental or personality orders that you may have. And so your personality is dictated by your intellect, which may not be the best mechanic, but it kind of works okay in this game. So again, they're might, speed, and intellect, and that's it. You only have 3. And they're grouped. You'll have a pool for each one of those, and that pool is going to be from about 7 to 20 points in each of those pools. Obviously, a glaive is going to have a lower pool of intellect and a higher pool of might, and nanos is going to have a higher intellect pool and a lower might pool. And the jack, he gets, at the beginning, they're all equal, and he gets points to distribute and the ones he wants. So if you're going to go that bardic type of thing, if you wanted to be some type of bard, you'll probably dump more of those points that you get to put where you want into your intellect, because your intellect covers your personality, and you're going to be, have a higher personality if you're a bard. But or you can drop them into the speed thing if you're going to be the sneaky guy, or you can drop them into might if you want to be more of a hand-to-hand jack, combat-oriented jack. The numbers are going to be given to you based on your class, but your descriptor and your focus can boost those and give you extra points. These pools are also used as your hit points. If you take melee damage, it gets subtracted from your might pool. If it's mental or telepathic damage, it comes out of your intellect pool. If you get certain types of poison that dull your senses or slow you down or make you slow, or if you take some type of damage that inhibits your movement, if you're ankle gets broken or something like that, then it will come off of your speed pool. Word to the wise, might is by far the most common. That's if you get bit by an animal or hit by a sword or fall off of a rock or hit with an arrow, or most of the bad stuff that's going to happen to you is just going to be might. So even if you're a nano, when you get your points that you can spend how you want to, because all classes get some points to put where they want, you may want to drop a couple into your might pool so you can withstand a couple more hits in a battle. And these pools, they also fuel your abilities. When you try to do stuff, you spend points out of these pools. So swinging a sword, in this they call it pierce or bash or thrust. If you use some of those abilities, it costs you a might point to use, for instance, to swing a sword. If you cast a spell, or like I say, they're called esoteries in this game, it will cost you an intellect point. If you try to shoot a bow or some kind of missile fire weapon, it will use points out of your speed pool. Now, you may be thinking, well, these, you just said they're my hit points, but if every time I swing a sword I have to spend a might point, then I'm effectively lowering my own hit points every time I try to do something. What covers that, what makes that not necessarily true, is a mechanic called edge. And your edge usually is 1 point. It is 1 point early in the game. Everyone will have a 1 point edge, and it will only go for one of those pools. So you'll have a 1 point edge in your might or your speed or your intellect, and that's based on your class. Jack can put it wherever the three they want. What your edge does is reduces any points spent out of that pool by the amount of edge you have. So if you have an edge of 1 and you swing a sword and it costs you 1 point, you take 1 point out of your might pool, but it's lowered by 1 because of your edge. 1 minus 1 is 0. So glaives can do all of their combat maneuvers that cost 1 point for free because their edge is going to reduce it every time. Same thing with when a nano tries to cast a spell. It costs 1 point of intellect, but he's got an edge of 1, which lowers that, so it's a 0. And again, jacks are that odd thing that once you make your character and figure out what you want to do, you'll put the edge where you want to. Skills in this game, when you try to do stuff, you'll use certain skills to do it. There's not really a finite set of skills. The book says here's some examples, but the examples they give are pretty wide ranging, and we'll use those skills for the most part. Other skills may pop up during the game, and we'll add those if they come about. Or if you have a very specific thing that you want your character to do, and you look at the skills and you say, well, alchemy or whatever is, not on this list. I don't even know if it is. I don't think it is. Well, if you think of a skill that you want to do and it's not on there, then we'll just add it. We'll just put that skill in there. When you try to perform any type of task in Numenera, and that goes for attacking or anything you try to do, you'll use a task difficulty mechanic. The GM, me, I'll assign a difficulty from 1 to 10, 1 being simple, 10 being impossible. Just a side note on that, they call it impossible 10. The word used for that is impossible. That doesn't mean if something is physically impossible to do, you can still attempt it. It's just the word they use is impossible. In other words, it's literally impossible for a human being to move a mountain. So if you go, this mountain's in my way, I want to move it, it's impossible, so I have a chance. No, it's not. They use the word impossible, but a better phrase would probably be extremely highly improbable. Because if it's impossible, you can't do it, but according to this, you can. So once that 1 to 10 number is decided upon, you multiply it by 3, and that's the difficulty number you need to roll on a 20-sided dice. The only dice you'll use in this game is a 20-sided dice. So if something is a 5, the DM says, or GM says, that's challenging. That's a 5. 5 times 3 is 15. You would need a 15 or higher on the 20-sided dice to perform whatever that action would be. You can use, the way you can make that better is using various mechanics in the game to lower the difficulty. So I said it's a 5. You can use things to drop that 5 to a 4 and that 4 to a 3. If you're trained in that skill, if you're doing something you're trained in, it automatically drops to the next difficulty level. If you use a tool that you have with you that will feasibly help you, something that will help you do that, it drops another one. If you have someone in your party that assists you, again, if it's feasible for a person to help you, it will lower it. So let's say you have a 5. There's also a mechanic called effort that you can do. So let's go back to that difficulty 5 task. Let's say it's moving a heavy boulder. There's a boulder in front of a cave, and you really need to get in this cave. And I say, well, that's pretty challenging. This is a heavy ass boulder, so I'm going to set that as a 5. Okay. So first off, your character is trained in one of the things that listed on the skill sheet is carrying is a skill. We could probably manipulate that to somehow make it work as to lifting, or we may make up a skill called lifting. So let's say your character is trained in lifting. That 5 will drop to a 4 automatically because you're trained in it. One of your party members says that she'll help you. She'll come over there and grab the rock at another spot on the rock to help you. Well, now that 4 just dropped to a 3 because you're getting assistance. Let's say that you have a crowbar or some kind of lever or something that will help you to move it. That drops it to a 2. And lastly, since you really need to get through this, you're going to use the effort mechanic. And the effort mechanics means you spend 3 points out of whichever pool is applicable to that task. In this case, it would be might. You want to spend 3 points out of your might pool. That would lower it again. Now it's all the way down to a 1. If it was something that you were trying to do, if you were trying to talk your way past a guard and you wanted to use effort, those 3 points would come out of your intellect pool because intellect runs your personality. If you were trying to run from somebody really fast, or you were trying to walk across a very narrow piece of wood across a chasm, then you use effort, it would come off of your speed pool. The edge mechanic that lowers any points spent out of a pool does work for effort. So in other words, if you were playing a glaive and you had a 1 point edge in your might, if you wanted to use effort, it's cost you 3 points out of your might pool to spend to use effort, but it would be lowered by 1 because you have an edge of 1, so it would only cost you 2. If you can ever get that number, if you can drop it from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 to 0, if you can ever get any task given to you at a 0, no roll is needed and you automatically succeed. So those are the basic mechanics of how to make up a character and how to succeed in certain tasks. In combat, it should be noted that the creature that you're fighting, its level is the number that you need to hit it. So a level 4, they call them tiers in this game, a tier 4 creature, if you want to hit it with your sword, it's a 4. 4 times 3 is 12. You would need a 12 to hit that creature. Some of those things can come into play to lower that. You can't be trained in sword. You can't say, I'm trained in swords, so I'm automatically going to drop it. It's assumed if you're a glaive, you're trained in it already. That's why it costs you 0 points to use that. But say that somebody helps you. Someone tries to distract that creature. They're not going to get a chance to attack. That's their action, is helping you. But if someone helps you, it drops it down to 1 level. There's really not too many tools you can use to attack, but you can use effort. So sometimes you can even lower the score needed, the roll needed to attack things. And that's the same way they do for you. They have to make a roll to attack you based upon your tier, and you'll have armor and some stuff like that. So I think that covers about most of it. But we'll cover the rest when we get together. Looking forward to it.